Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Whatever Billy Napier did over the weekend during Florida's official visit weekend seems to be working and seems to be working quite well as they land another commit in the 2024 class, going to the state of Georgia and getting Michai Boireau. I made sure that I did a decent job pronouncing his name. 6'5", 370-pound defensive tackle from the state of Georgia. And you see the 3-star rating, the 78th defensive lineman in the country. Well, guess what? Offers from Georgia, from Auburn. Anytime Florida can go to the state of Georgia and take a defensive lineman that the Georgia Bulldogs were going after, consider that a massive win on the recruiting trail. Take a look at what Billy Napier's doing in this 2024 class. It's recruiting such a wild ride, right? You had Chauncey Bowens flip his commitment. You had Austin Simmons flip his commitment. And then what does Billy Napier and Florida Gators do? They just start rattling off some commitments in this 2024 class, a top 10 class in the country, still a lot of prospects still on their board. Now, before we get into it again, just want to say thank you to you guys and especially the Florida Gator fans. Anytime I get a chance to talk some Florida Gators football, I'm absolutely going to take it. You guys have shown a ton of love and support to the channel. So if you do enjoy the updates, you enjoy talking recruiting, consider subscribing to the channel. We appreciate you guys. Without further ado, let's get into this prospect who, again, I'm going to say something, and I'm not going to say he's Jordan Davis, but want to know who another defensive tackle who was a 3-star coming out of high school, who was also 6'5", 360-plus pounds, was Jordan Davis coming out of North Carolina 5 years ago. And so you're seeing 24/7 Sports maybe sleeping on him a little bit, but what you can't do is you can't teach the size that he's going to come in with. And yes, similar to Desmond Watson, maybe there's some stuff you're doing in the weight room to get that weight at a weight that's going to help him play his best football. But the bottom line is, this dude is going to play a role in this Florida Gators defense. And more importantly, it adds to that depth of that defensive line that we talked about this a lot. The Florida Gators defense, especially on the defensive line, I don't think personnel-wise was as bad as people say on that front line. That being said, what really got to Florida was the lack of depth. And you saw Gervon Dexter, a guy that we covered a lot in the NFL draft, inconsistent film. That was the biggest knock on him. There would be reps where he's dominating, and then there'd be reps where he just looks like, why are we even going to consider drafting this guy? Why do you think that was? You go look, and he was one of the highest snap counts of anyone over 300 pounds across the country on the defensive line. And why did he have to play so much? Because the depth for that Florida Gators defensive line simply wasn't there. And so you're seeing Billy Napier identify this as being a potential problem and fixing it in both ways, right? We're going to the recruiting trail and getting 3 defensive linemen in the last, 48 hours. Then they also went to the transfer portal as well and getting Cam Jackson and Caleb Banks who are going to come in and provide some starting caliber play, but also provide some depth to that defensive line as well. I think that's one thing Billy Napier has identified for this Florida Gators team that we need to get right. And we've talked about Billy Napier in terms of he hasn't gone that hard in the transfer portal like a lot of other first and second year head coaches, Lincoln Riley, Hugh Freeze, Coach Prime in Colorado, Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State. Billy Napier is building this thing from the ground up. And yeah, that might result in maybe a slower rebuild. That being said, I think most of us agree that recruiting out of high school successfully is the more sustainable route to building a program. You look at Georgia, you look at Alabama, you look at Ohio State. They'll go to the transfer portal to get some guys, but they're not going and getting 10-plus guys every single cycle. I think Billy Napier is saying, yeah, we're going to go to the transfer portal and get some guys that we think can help this team, but we're going to continue to pay attention and get guys out of high school, get them in the program and develop. And so, again, slower rebuild, but when we talk about it, this is the talking point for Florida, I think, all season. Is you're going to see a lot of young guys play, and you're going to see maybe some growing pains in 2023. But again, if you're a Florida fan in 2024 and 2025, with all those youngsters getting a lot of work in 2023, I think that's where you start to see this rebuild take place. So again, Florida fans probably need to be a little bit patient with Billy Napier, but this thing is getting going, in my opinion. Now, I do want to check out the film on Michai, though, because again, it is some fun film to watch. He is so big, and what he kind of offers is he's pretty damn athletic for his size, and he's extremely disruptive, and he does exactly what you want a guy who's 6'6", 350-plus pounds to do. He's going to eat double teams. He's going to eat some space, and he's going to clear it up for linebackers, and he's also going to make some plays himself. He's a guy that I think can push pockets. I don't see him being an elite pass rusher, but winning first and second down, I think, is something that not enough people talk about in terms of Jordan Davis. He was a solid pass rusher, but what Jordan Davis added to that Georgia Bulldogs team was, we're going to win on first and second down, get you guys to 3rd and 8. Jordan Davis is going to come off the field, and they're going to come in and get their pass rush package and really get after the quarterback. Winning first and second down is such a big deal in the college football game. I don't think people give it enough credit. You get a guy in Michai who's going to come in and win on first and second down. If you're going to try to run between the tackles, this dude is going to be a force. And now you see a little athleticism. Like that when you talk about upside, like I think he's going to be solid just because of his size. When you talk about upside, when you can get a guy who's that big but also has the feet and athleticism like Michai might be able to develop, that's when you get special level defensive tackles like a guy like Jordan Davis. That's kind of what I think you're most excited for. And he gets off the ball pretty good too. I feel bad. Like these poor guys trying to block him. That's tough sledding. Now, I do want to take us to what this class is looking like and where I've done a lot. I mean, we talked a lot of Florida football the last couple of days. Where can they continue to add, right? You have your quarterback of the future in DJ Lagway. Now that is obvious. Like Austin Simmons not in the picture. DJ Lagway is tasked with bringing this Florida program back. They've recruited the defensive side of the ball extremely well. You got 2 really good linebackers in Miles Graham and Aaron Childs. And even on top of that, what's a linebacker's best friend? A defensive tackle that can eat up double teams and keep them clean. And a guy like Michai is going to be able to do that. And you're going to see Miles Graham, Aaron Childs, 2 big, rangy linebackers in 2024 and 2025. When they're on the field, they're going to be playing clean, and they're going to be allowed to be playmakers. I think Adarius Hayes, I think he might be an edge rusher. We'll see what he actually ends up doing. Amir Jackson, a very good tight end. Here's the depth of that defensive line. Now, this is probably the one position that, in my mind, I would like Florida to address a little bit more, is that wide receiver position. I think they did a great job in that 2023 class, bringing in guys like Eugene Wilson, Aiden Mizell, Andy Jean, who all have gotten really, or 2 of them have gotten really good reports coming out of spring practice. Florida's missed on a few wide receivers like TJ Moore from Tampa Catholic, I want to say. That being said, when you have a guy like DJ Lagway in the fold, I think you should be able to recruit some difference makers at that wide receiver position. There are some guys on the board. Obviously, Jeremiah Smith's been getting a ton of buzz, potential flip watch. But there's a bunch of talented wide receivers that I wouldn't mind seeing Florida get 1 or 2 more bodies in there in terms of playmakers around DJ Lagway. And the last thing I want to talk about is the tackles. I saw a lot of heat on Twitter from Florida fans saying Billy Napier, this Florida Gators program, is just, it's settling too much. A guy like Mike Williams, if you listen to a lot of the scouts about this 2024 class, I'm not going to pretend like I've watched film on every single tackle in this class, but I've done a lot of reading on what coaches and what scouts think of this 2024 class. It's not a great tackle class in comparison to 2023 and 2022, where you saw some elite tackles coming out. And so taking a guy like Mike Williams, who, yeah, I get not even a top 100 tackle according to 24/7 Sports, but he has the bones to be good. 6'7", 310. You get a really raw kid in Noel Portajan from Germany as well. Probably will play more on that interior, but the frame to potentially play tackle. That is, I don't think those are bad takes in terms of, hey, we're going to get him in. He's probably not going to play with first or second year, but he has the body to be developed into being a quality tackle at the SEC level. When you can get your hands on that, especially in a weak tackle class, I'm not really stressing about Florida taking swings on 2 of these tackles, because this is a class to take some swings on tackles, because it's not like you're seeing that many bona fide blue chip tackles that are going to be all Americans. And so this Florida class it's coming together very nicely. I think they're going to finish with a top 10 class, and you take a look at who they've had on campus. Like, I don't think they're done yet, right? You have a bunch of guys, and you look at all those commitments from Friday, June 16th visit. Tawaski Abrams, our Florida State commit, wouldn't be surprised if you're pushing for a flip on him. But they've had a lot of talented guys on campus. Obviously, guys like David Stone, Jared Gibson, 5-star quality guys have also been on campus going back to that June 2nd visit weekend. So it's early, but I still think Florida has now built the depth of this 2024 class. Now we're working on polishing it off and getting some more top 50, top 100 national dudes into the fold for Florida. And that's what could take this class from just being a solid class to a special 2024 class that's going to really get this program back on track. Again, this is a team that I'm very excited for, not necessarily right now, but the future of this program, I really do think is bright. I hope Florida gives Billy Napier enough time to execute this rebuild because he's doing it the right way. He's not going for the early fix. I'm excited to keep monitoring it. Appreciate you guys checking the fellas out again. If you do enjoy the content, of course, consider subscribing to the channel. The support has meant a ton to the boys, and we'll talk to y'all later.